Co-Pilot Podcasts. Will Spencer walked out of Forrester Creations last week, but not before gut-punching RJ Forrester hard enough to bruise a rib. And somehow, that one swing set off a chain reaction that is reshaping every major power structure on this show. Today, we're breaking down the week of June 1 through 5 on The Bold and the Beautiful. Specifically, Will's firing and the fallout that followed, the Logan versus Forrester fashion war that is now fully in motion, and what Bill Spencer is quietly, methodically building behind everyone's backs. By the end of this episode, you'll understand exactly who's winning, who's losing, and why the person you thought was the hero might actually be the problem. Joining me to break all of this down is someone who has been tracking every twist and turn. Let's get into it.
Okay, so let's just start with the gut punch, because that is genuinely where everything this week flows from. Will Spencer, played by Crew Morrow, physically punched RJ Forrester, played by Brian Nicoletti, on his way out. And according to recaps from Soap Central and Daytime Confidential, this happened off the clock, but Steffi and Ridge still determined it violated Forrester's code of conduct. Will got fired.
Right, and the timing of this is almost darkly comedic, right? Because Elektra had literally just agreed to move back in with Will.
Exactly. One day, she reunites with him, agrees to move in, and then the next day he's fired. According to Celebrating the Soaps, Elektra, played by Lania Grace, is going to be stunned when she finds out why. She was literally talking to RJ moments before she left with Will, so she had no idea any of this was happening.
So she's caught completely off guard.
Completely. And here's what makes it complicated. She already knows there's a rivalry between Will and RJ. That's not new. But according to Celebrating the Soaps, she probably won't be happy that it escalated all the way to physical violence. And that tension could push her closer to RJ, who, let's be honest, is going to take every opportunity to be alone with her now that Will is out of the building.
So Will loses his job and potentially loses Elektra in the same week. That's a rough stretch.
It really is. But here's the thing, and this is where it gets interesting. Will doesn't exactly leave quietly. Soap Central's recap from June 2nd is literally titled, Will leaves Forrester with one final warning. So he's not going out with his tail between his legs.
Okay, I love that. What's the warning?
The specifics of the warning aren't fully detailed in the recaps, but the framing from Soaps.com is telling. They ran a piece saying Will is right about everything he said about RJ. So whatever Will said on his way out, the commentary is treating it as a legitimate indictment of how RJ has been operating.
Wait, so the show is actually positioning Will as the one making valid points here?
That's the read from multiple outlets. Soap Hub published a piece literally titled, B&B just turned RJ into the villain of his own story. And Soaps.com reported that fans are revolting against what they called the big baby calling the shots, which is clearly a reference to RJ. Viewers are seeing him in a whole new light right now.
That's such a wild flip, because RJ was supposed to be the sympathetic one in this rivalry.
Right, and Soap Hub's analysis put it really well. RJ may be winning the battle, but losing everything else. He got Will fired, sure, but in doing so, he's alienated viewers, he's potentially pushed Elektra away, and, according to Soap Hub, he's also been trying to pull Dylan into what they called a romantic web of deceit. So the picture being painted is not flattering.
Okay, so let's zoom out a little, because the Will and RJ thing is really just one piece of a much bigger war happening right now. The Forresters versus the Logans. This is the real engine of the show at this point, isn't it?
It absolutely is. And to understand why this week matters so much, you have to understand what's been building. The Bold and the Beautiful, according to Soaps.com, has always centered on three families: the Forresters, the Logans, and the Spencers. The show debuted back in March of 1987, and those family dynamics have been the core of everything. But right now, the Logans are making a genuine power play.
And Hope is right at the center of that.
Hope is the linchpin. According to Daytime Confidential's recap from May 25th, Hope signed with Logan, Katie's fashion house, while everyone at Forrester thinks she's just taking a hiatus. She's not on a break. She has already secretly switched fashion houses.
So she's essentially running a double life right now.
Exactly. And according to Celeb Dirty Laundry spoilers for the week of June 1 through 5, Steffi is already suspicious. She's going to lash out when she thinks Hope is just taking a leave of absence, but she doesn't know yet that Hope has already signed with Katie. And Brooke might accidentally spill the news before Steffi can corner Hope directly.
Oh, Brooke accidentally blowing up Hope's cover. That is very on brand.
Very on brand. And meanwhile, Ridge and Steffi are not on the same page about any of this. According to Celebrating the Soaps, Ridge and Steffi are going to clash over Hope's future and the whole Logan drama. And here's the twist. Ridge actually ends up befriending Hope, which is a genuinely surprising development given how often he sides with Steffi.
Ridge befriending Hope while Steffi is trying to expose her. That's a real fracture in the Forrester camp.
It is. And Soap Hub's weekly analysis framed it as Brooke and Katie drawing battle lines, the feud between the Forresters and Logans intensifying as both sisters clash over the future of their family's fashion houses. So it's not just the younger generation. The whole family tree is splitting.
Okay, so now I want to talk about the person who might actually be the most interesting player in all of this right now, Bill Spencer. Because what he's doing feels almost strategic in a way the show doesn't always give him credit for.
Bill Spencer, played by Don Diamont, is having a moment. And Soap Hub put it perfectly. They said Bill is quietly assembling his own team at Logan as if he's in a Marvel movie. That framing is so accurate.
Okay, break it down. Who's on the team?
So first, Will is almost certainly heading to Logan or Spencer Publications after the firing. According to Celeb Dirty Laundry, Bill is going to welcome his son with open arms and deliver a job offer. Then there's Wyatt. Darren Brooks just returned to the show, and Bill is asking Wyatt to join the family empire. Wyatt is taking it under consideration, according to Celebrating the Soaps.
And Shauna is back too, right? Denise Richards returned.
Yes, Daytime Confidential confirmed that Denise Richards and Darren Brooks both returned to the show. And according to Celeb Dirty Laundry, Wyatt may push for Shauna to get a position at Logan as well, so Bill might end up surrendering to that pressure. Shauna could even bring some kind of proposal that gives Logan a boost.
So you've got Will, Wyatt, potentially Shauna, and then there's Deke.
Deke Sharp, played by Harrison Cohn, is the one I think people are sleeping on. According to Soap Central's June 1st recap, Deke's big break arrives as Will's world falls apart, which is a great headline because it captures exactly how the show is structuring this. While Will is losing everything at Forrester, Deke is gaining everything at Logan. Hope told him Logan wants to hire them both.
And they have to keep it secret.
Right. According to Celeb Dirty Laundry, Katie and Hope warned Deke he can't tell a soul where he's working, at least not yet. So Logan is building in secret while Forrester is dealing with internal chaos. That's a real strategic advantage.
It's almost like Logan is playing chess while Forrester is playing checkers right now.
That's a good way to put it. And Katie's confidence is reflecting that. Daytime Confidential's recap from June 1st is literally titled, Katie predicts nothing but success for the House of Logan. She is not hedging. She is fully committed to this being a winning move.
Okay, but let me push back a little here, because Forrester Creations is not exactly falling apart. Ridge is still there, Steffi is still there. They're not going down without a fight.
That's fair. And the show is clearly not positioning Logan as an automatic winner. According to Celebrating the Soaps, Brooke is growing suspicious as Katie struggles to hide the Logan secrets. So even on the Logan side, there are cracks. Brooke doesn't fully know what Katie is doing, and that could become a problem.
Brooke being the weak link in Katie's plan, that's kind of poetic given their history.
It really is. And Daytime Confidential had a recap headline that said, Donna demands Katie drop her plans to poach Hope. So even within the Logan family, not everyone is on board. Donna is pushing back. This isn't a unified front.
So the Logans are fighting each other while also fighting the Forresters. That's a lot of fronts to manage.
It is, and that's actually what makes this week so compelling from a storytelling standpoint. Nobody is cleanly winning. Will is out, but not gone. RJ is in power, but losing the audience. Hope is at Logan, but in secret. Bill is building, but quietly. Every character is in a kind of suspended tension.
Let's talk about Annika Noel for a second, because Soap Hub named her their May Performer of the Month. That's a real acknowledgement of what Hope's storyline has been doing.
Yeah, Soap Hub said Annika Noel delivered one of May's strongest performances as Hope struggled to save hope for the future and choose between Forrester and Logan. That career crossroads storyline has clearly resonated. And it makes sense. Hope is carrying a lot of the emotional weight of this whole conflict.
She's the one who actually has to live with the consequences of the choice, while everyone else is just maneuvering around her.
Exactly. And that's what makes her interesting right now. She's not just a pawn. She made a deliberate choice to sign with Logan. But she's also the one who has to maintain the lie, keep Steffi in the dark, and manage Brooke potentially blowing everything up. That's a lot of pressure for one character to carry.
Now, you mentioned earlier that Wyatt's return could potentially shake up Steffi and Finn's marriage. Soap Hub reported that Darren Brooks hinted at that. How does that fit into everything?
So that's more of a slow burn thread that's being set up in the background. Soap Hub reported that Darren Brooks hinted Wyatt's return could have him reuniting with one of his ex-wives, and Steffi is one of them. It's not front and center this week, but it's a thread the show is clearly laying down for later.
So Wyatt comes back, potentially joins Bill's empire at Logan, and might also be a wrench in Steffi and Finn's marriage. He's doing a lot of work just by showing up.
That's the thing about returning characters on this show. They never come back just for one reason. And Soaps.com had a preview headline that literally said, "Let's see how many pots Wyatt can stir," which Darren Brooks himself teased. So the show is leaning into that energy.
I love that they're self-aware about it.
It's a good sign when a show can wink at itself a little. And speaking of self-awareness, Soap Hub also noted that the show may be quietly setting up a heartbreak story for Dylan. They described Dylan as feeling like the odd person out in a love square that's incomplete. So while everyone is focused on the big business war, there's this quieter emotional story building underneath.
Dylan is kind of the character who keeps getting pulled into other people's drama without fully choosing to be there.
Right. And Daytime Confidential had a recap headline saying, "Dylan makes Remy promise to never again darken Forrester's doors." So Dylan is also trying to manage her own relationships and boundaries, while RJ is apparently trying to pull her into his orbit. It's a lot for one character.
Okay, let's talk about the show itself for a second, because The Bold and the Beautiful has been on the air since March 23, 1987. According to television stats, it now has 39 seasons and over 8,757 episodes on CBS. That is an almost incomprehensible amount of television.
It really is. And what's remarkable is that the core engine, the Forresters, the Logans, the Spencers, is still the same engine that's been running since 1987. According to Soaps.com, the show was created by William J. and Lee Phillip Bell as a sister soap to The Young and the Restless, and those three families have remained at the forefront the entire time.
Nearly 40 years, and the Forresters are still fighting the Logans over a fashion house. There's something almost comforting about that.
There is, and the show knows how to refresh those dynamics without abandoning them. The next generation, RJ, Will, Elektra, Deke, they're all playing out versions of the same conflicts their parents had, just with new stakes and new alliances.
Which brings us back to this week, because what's happening right now feels like a genuine generational shift. The younger characters are driving the story in a way that feels earned.
Agreed. And the show is smart about keeping the veterans involved without letting them overshadow the new blood. Ridge and Steffi are clashing, Bill is building his empire, Brooke is hovering, but the actual dramatic engine this week is Will, RJ, Elektra, Hope, and Deke. That's a healthy balance.
Let me ask you something that I think a lot of viewers are probably sitting with right now. Who do you actually root for in the Forrester versus Logan war? Because the show seems to be deliberately making it hard to pick a side.
That's the design, I think. And it's working. Steffi is protective of Forrester's legacy, but she's also being controlling and suspicious. Katie is ambitious and building something real, but she's doing it through secrecy and poaching. RJ has institutional power, but he's using it in ways that are making fans uncomfortable. There's no clean hero here.
And that's actually more interesting than a clear good guy and bad guy.
Much more interesting. And Soap Hub's piece about RJ, B&B just turned RJ into the villain of his own story, that's a sign the show is doing something right. When the audience starts questioning the character they were supposed to be rooting for, that's compelling television.
Okay, so let's talk about what's coming. Because the week of June 1 through 5 is clearly setting up a lot of dominoes. What are the threads you're watching most closely going forward?
The biggest one for me is how long Hope can maintain the secret. According to Celeb Dirty Laundry, Steffi could sense that Hope is holding back and make it her mission to learn the whole truth. And with Brooke potentially slipping up, that secret has a very short shelf life.
And when it comes out, and it will come out, that's going to be a massive confrontation.
Massive. And the Ridge angle is interesting too. According to Celebrating the Soaps, Ridge ends up befriending Hope this week, which puts him in a really awkward position when the truth about Logan comes out. Does he protect Hope, or does he side with Steffi and Forrester? That's a real dilemma for his character.
Ridge being caught between Hope and Steffi is not exactly new territory for him, but the stakes feel different this time.
They do, because this isn't just personal, it's professional. It's about the future of Forrester Creations as a business. And according to Daytime Confidential, Ridge already refused to promote Brooke to co-CEO, which tells you he's trying to hold the line on Forrester's identity. But if Hope is gone and Logan is rising, that line gets harder to hold.
And then there's the Bill Spencer wildcard. Because if Logan becomes a real competitor to Forrester, with Will, Wyatt, Deke, and potentially Shauna all under that roof, That changes the entire landscape of the show.
It does. And Soap Hub's framing of it as a Marvel movie is apt because Bill is doing this methodically. He's not making big dramatic announcements. He's just quietly locking in pieces. Will here, Wyatt there, Deke over there. By the time Forrester realizes what's happened, Logan might already be a genuine threat.
The slow build is actually scarier than the dramatic confrontation.
Always. And that's what makes Bill interesting right now. He's not Dollar Bill, the blunt instrument. He's Dollar Bill, the strategist. And that version of the character is much more dangerous.
Okay, so when you step back from everything that happened this week, the gut punch, the firing, the secret signing, the empire building, what does it all actually add up to?
Here's what this really comes down to. The show is in the middle of a genuine power transfer. Forrester Creations has been the center of gravity on this show since 1987. But right now, Logan is pulling talent, pulling resources, and pulling audience sympathy. The question isn't whether Forrester will fight back, it's whether they can fight back fast enough.
And the person who started all of this, the person whose fist connected with RJ's ribs, is now probably sitting at a desk at Logan or Spencer Publications, watching it all unfold.
Will Spencer may have lost the battle at Forrester, but he might have accidentally fired the starting gun on a war that ends up benefiting his whole family. That's not a bad outcome for a guy who just got fired.
And RJ, the guy who got punched, who got Will fired, who is sitting in a position of power at Forrester, might be the one who ends up losing the most.